There's a strange moment early in human development when the body briefly starts building a tail. Not a metaphor, not a story, an actual tail. For a short time, human embryos grow one, and then it disappears before birth. That alone should make the whole question feel a little uncomfortable. If humans are not supposed to have tails, why does the body still try to make one? And if our ancestors once had them, why did evolution decide to remove them completely instead of keeping them around like a useful pocket nobody asked for? That is where the real story begins, because humans did not lose their tails in some clean, dramatic event. It was slow, painfully slow. Evolution rarely behaves like a cartoon villain, cutting things off with a giant pair of scissors. It nudges, it trims, it keeps whatever helps survival, and quietly drops whatever does not. And somewhere deep in our ancient past, tails stopped being the winning design. To understand why, you have to go back to the kind of creatures that existed before humans, before apes, before the whole awkward business of walking upright and pretending we had everything figured out. Our mammal ancestors had tails for a reason. Tails helped with balance, movement, climbing, communication, and in some animals, even survival itself. If you've ever watched a monkey swing through trees, it becomes very easy to understand why a tail is useful. It's not decoration, it's a tool. But then the world changed, and our line of ancestors changed with it. As our primate relatives became more specialized for life in trees, balance and movement started depending more on shoulders, limbs, posture, and body control than on a long tail swinging behind them. That doesn't mean the tail became useless overnight. It means the pressure keeping it useful started to weaken. And once a body part stops earning its place, evolution begins the slow process of letting it fade. Here's what makes the story more interesting. Humans did not become tailless because we suddenly needed nothing where a tail once was. We became tailless because the costs of keeping a tail no longer outweighed the benefits. A tail takes energy to grow, maintain, and manage. If the environment and lifestyle no longer reward that expense, evolution has no reason to keep paying for it. So over a huge span of time, natural selection kept favoring bodies that were just slightly better without it. And this is where the first hidden twist appears. The tail did not vanish instantly. Its blueprint was gradually reduced until all that remained was the tailbone, or coccyx. That little bone at the base of your spine isn't some random leftover from nowhere. It's a fossilized hint of what used to be there. The body kept the support structure, but dropped the external tail itself. So when people ask whether humans once had tails, the answer is yes, not in a fairy tale sense, in a real evolutionary sense.
That makes the next question even better. If tails were so useful for other animals, why did primates in our line abandon them? One major reason is locomotion. As some primates evolved into more upright, more flexible, more differently balanced creatures, the tail stopped being the best answer to the problems their bodies faced. When you are changing how you move, how you climb, how you sit, and how you balance, the body starts getting remodeled around that new strategy. Little by little, the tail became less necessary, not because it was bad, but because the rest of the body evolved to make it redundant. And then there is something even stranger. Humans did not just lose their tails, we also kept the memory of them in development. That means the body still carries the instructions to build a tail early on, but those instructions are usually shut down before birth. So the tail is not truly gone from our biology, it is hidden, paused, and folded away. Which is exactly the kind of detail that makes evolution feel less like a clean explanation and more like a draft with edits still visible in the margins. If you're enjoying these kinds of weird history and body mysteries, that is exactly the lane this channel is built for. The best questions are often the ones your own body seems to answer before your brain does. There's also a deeper implication here that people usually miss.
Human evolution is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming good enough for the conditions that exist at the time. A tail might be brilliant in one environment and unnecessary in another. Evolution does not preserve everything useful forever. It preserves whatever keeps working well enough. That means the body is always full of old design choices that made sense somewhere in the past, even if they look strange now. So why do humans have no tails today? Because the ancestors that survived were the ones whose bodies adapted to a different kind of life. The tail slowly lost its advantage, the structure behind it shrank, and the human line kept moving forward without it. What remains is a small bone, a brief embryonic echo, and a very uncomfortable reminder that the body is not built from scratch. It's built from layers of old decisions. And that's the real answer. Humans lost their tails not because the species woke up one day and decided it was time to be tail-free, but because evolution gradually stopped needing them. The tail became expensive, then unnecessary, then reduced, then hidden. The body kept the memory, but not the feature. Which is exactly how a lot of evolution works, not with dramatic endings, but with quiet removals so old you barely notice them until someone asks the obvious question: why are we the only ones missing something so many other animals still have?